Okay. Whee! Epic adventure music. Alright. So, which one are we gonna paint? We might end up hitting both, like doing rough stuff on both, maybe. Because I really like both of these. This one and this one. Even though it's like this one is so clearly a Bugaro riff, but I don't know. I think it'd be fun to paint up at some point. So maybe we'll start here. Let's see. How do I want to do this? We'll start with some inkiness, just like the rough. So the rough is all inky. So let me make sure. All right, cool. Oh, let's see. I probably won't be able to get exactly that look, realistically. We could maybe play with textures, watercolor erasers, watercolor smudge. Weird. Oh. Okay. I don't know why these aren't there. That was weird. Whoa. Ginormous. Which one are we on? Don't really know this pack well enough to know like what all will go well together, but that's okay. We can at least get, it's just a fill-in, right? And I'll end up smudging and doing all kinds of other stuff anyway, so whatever. Which one are we on? Yeah. Makes sense, I guess. Hello. Is it Mickey? Or is that Mike? Or how do I pronounce that? Or McKay? Welcome. I'm just taking this ink thumbnail that I had done, and we're just gonna see what we can do with it. Shadow Walk, what's up? How is your Sunday night going? I'll probably end up darkening this whole thing down. It's because compositionally I sort of see it being darker with her skin just being like crazy light. Yeah, I mean, I would love to do a little oil painting. So I have these like 12 by 16 inch linen panels. So I think kind of one of the things I'm doing, which is different than how I normally work, which is why I'm doing it, is sort of maybe planning a bunch of paintings that then I can hopefully get into and start executing. Normally I just always do it one at a time, but the problem is then, like, if something kind of gets in the way, takes you away from it for a minute, then you may not always be in the mood to get back to doing that painting. And then, so I'm kind of thinking, hey, maybe I'll plan out several paintings and then I can start executing on them and see where that takes me. We shall see. Yeah, I've been, part of what it is I've been really wanting my paintings, my drawings, whatever, to have more substance, I guess you could say, right? For a long time, for years. And it was largely due to having very limited time, right? Because I was working 50 hours a week and, more than that if you count it would have been 60 hours a week if you count the 2 hours worth of driving I was doing every day just to get to work. So I had really limited time for myself, so all I had time for were like one-off kind of, I think this gets too noisy, one-off images, like, and usually single figure stuff and all that. And so now that I actually have the time to do more, I've just really wanted my stuff to have a bit more to it. I think I might duplicate that and darken it maybe one more time. It gives us some room to play. So yeah, I've been trying to like take on more of a not fine art approach necessarily, but like thinking in the context of galleries and museums and the types of paintings that I gravitate toward in those scenarios, so that's kind of where I think a lot of this stuff has started to come from. Oz, welcome. Lurk away, my friend. Lurk away. Yo, Junior Josh Q or JR Josh. Josh, thanks for the follow. Parlise. Alvin Stream B stuff. Thanks for the follows. I appreciate it. Thank you, Shadowwalk. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's also just like, for some reason, all of a sudden, I just really didn't feel like just doing single figure stuff anymore. I wanted to do stuff that kind of just had more going on, And, so, I don't know. I was just like, alright, it's not enough now. It's one thing if I do a little kind of doodle, or, like the one I just posted. We look at that. This one, right? Granted, there's enough going on that I can get a lot out of a painting with that. Just thinking of the water and the way I envision the sky and having the kind of transillumination in the water, the light refraction and stuff. And this one would definitely be about rendering, though. This would not be... I would not intend for this to be a looser painting, right? Whereas this can maybe be a little looser. So, we'll see. We'll see. I'll need to get some darker darks in here to start to kind of push these values apart. Oh, Oz, is that like, is it a non-art related job? Or is it art related? Because, I mean, I have an art-related job, and the idea of going back into the office kind of, like, it doesn't give me anxiety, but, But at the same time, I kind of feel like it'll be a good thing, a change, a good change. Because I won't be going back in 5 days a week. It'll just be, like, maybe 2 days a week. Okay. Oof. Yeah, that's rough, and that's not an easy gig either, right? Like, takes a lot of energy and in a sense a very similar type of creative energy, right? To do that, and I know it doesn't always leave us kind of with the extra energy to do art afterward. All right, let's get some darks in here. Of course, I love this sort of watercolory textures, but knowing that I would do this in oils, let's get some linen. Linen textures. Let's see how dark that is. That's pretty dark. Yeah, I felt like, I mean, I've done a lot of like witches and ravens, right? But kind of, it reminds me, I should pull up some some bird reference. Even though I don't need it just yet, but, you know, for when I do, mostly just for color. Because I want to get into some of the, like, iridescence that you get on those black birds, ravens, crows, all those. But yeah, so then I don't know. I just sort of was like, oh, I want to do something with like a giant raven, 'cause hell yeah. Yesterday was just like kind of a weird day where I really wanted to get into maybe some oil painting or something, but wasn't quite ready to start the big dragon storm painting, and then I still need to figure out the soul storm painting a bit. I haven't done that yet. Plus, I was like, but I kind of want to do inks, and I kind of want to do some oils, but I also kind of want to do some digital, and it was just so torn and conflicted yesterday. And ended up, in a sense, not getting much done, but at the same time, I got this done, which, you know, inspired me to want to do something with it. So that was good. Yeah. It's always tough when you have the time to kind of be really productive, and then you're not really productive, right? It's hard not to just kind of harp on ourselves for that, when realistically sometimes we need to realize that it's like, oh no, we were still productive, just maybe not in the way that we thought, but hopefully maybe in the way that we needed, right? I'm debating how much I want to get into color just yet. Might as well, right? Might as well. I know, that was the thing though. It's like I can't do all of it, not all at once anyway, as much as I might want to. Ooh, but I did get a new brush that I am excited to try out at some point. One of the Kuretake, what is it, Menso brushes? They're one of their Zig, basically a cartoonist brush, but this one is one of their really fine, like the extra fine, and it's a Kolinsky sable brush, whereas a lot of them are a little bigger and tend to be like horse and goat hair. So a bit coarser, stiffer brush. So I am excited to see how it performs, because I've never used it. One fun thing is that these ravens have, well, first of all, hang on. That's really fine texture. I'm gonna up that a little bit. Grain. Scale that up a little. Try that. That's a little better. Yeah, you know what's funny is it's not terribly fancy. Hang on. I haven't even opened it yet, but it's somewhere here. Look at that, I got the right box on the first try. I had like 3 Amazon packages arrive all at once. What's funny is I was looking around and I was literally about to drop like $50 on this brush. Because that was all I could find. But apparently it's just, maybe they don't sell it individually anymore, or it's just really hard to get individually. But if you get the full set, which is 3 brushes, basically a extra fine, what is it? Small, medium, and large. Or, no. A medium, small, and a Kolinsky small. Okay, so 2 of them, the medium and the small, are just, whoa, why are you so tiny? Why am I small? I don't want to be small. There. So the medium, if it will, is basically that's goat and horsehair, and same with the small, but then they have another one that's small, that's the Kolinsky sable, which I guess you can't really get individually, but together they were like $25 or something for all 3 of them. And like I said, I was about to drop like $50 something just to get this one sable brush, because that's what I do. But then I saw in a thumbnail what looked like the full 3-pack for like $25. I was like, oh, and I looked, and sure enough, this. I'm gonna see if I can get this to focus for y'all. Just grab a paper towel. Focus, 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 focus. There. Look at that point. Look at that. So this is a sable brush, Kolinsky sable. So this is like what the Winsor Newton Series 7s are made of. And you can have really great control with these. And I can only imagine what I can do with a point like that. So I am excited to try that at some point. Not yet. Not yet. We'll get there, though. All right. Which one are we on? There. I'm wondering if I want to. Yeah, let's do this. Paste there. The copy and paste basically just allows me to take advantage of the wet blending, right? Because I do want it to blend. Just depends on how much. Let's do a very wet. One of the things that I think is really fun when you get into like ravens and crows is the way that the feathers change. I mean, it does that with any bird, but they're just particularly fun to get into. Maybe because they're all more or less monochrome. Not really, obviously, with the iridescence and stuff on the feathers. It's far from monochromatic, but we can start there. This is very adventure-y music. I downloaded a bunch of it because it kind of fits with a lot of the stuff that I do, but sometimes it gets a little high-spirited when we're doing just kind of a chill non-action-y painting, but whatever. They get these cool, big, like, clumped sort of feathers on their throat. Where it looks like, especially on, like, some of the big ravens, you get what almost looks like a beard or something. Like a neck beard. Which normally is not cool, but on ravens it's really cool. Anyone else, don't go for a neck beard. Please. I always wished I had gotten some good, not that I can't at some point, but the couple of times that I've been to Death Valley, I never took like good pictures of the ravens there, and they're crazy. One, they're huge. Two, they just have these gnarly, like, really textured beaks. Like, kind of knobby, and I don't know, it's kind of crazy. Yo! Oh, Nero. Joey the Saint, how you doing, my friend? You know what's funny is that we, let's see, on this, hang on, filters. Remember we'd done some color correction and now it doesn't, where before it totally looked like it should. But now, for some reason, it doesn't look right. It looks better, actually. No, weird. Just went back to default, and it looked fine. I don't know why. Ah, no worries, Shadowwalk. Lurk all you want. Okay, we're gonna go off of the. We'll do the sizey one. Maybe. We'll see. I recently kind of made this brush. It's based on my calligraphic brush that I pretty much paint everything with. But I wanted something with a linen texture, so I had scanned in one of my linen panels for texture. So like we can see there, right? We can see that linen texture in it, right? Which is kind of nice to be able to get some of that. So I basically made some variations on it. So this one has a bit more size variation. I have one that is a lot more, like, has a lot more wet mix in it. And then one that's just dry, that doesn't do any wet mix on the canvas. So I might put them up on Gumroad or something, or maybe give them out to my patrons and put them up on Gumroad. The other brush that I paint like everything else with is the exact same brush. It's just it doesn't have the linen texture. I think I just used one of the sort of grainy kind of textures that Procreate has. about to come in with the, well, is my camera not catching me? I may have put it a little too high. Let's do this. Whoa. Scoot back a little. Scoot back. And the nice thing with Procreate, which I think you can probably do, I don't know the exact setting though that it would be in Photoshop, but I love the fact that you can get more texture out of a brush when you tilt the pencil, right? So that's where if I draw more vertically or paint more vertically, I get that very opaque kind of a thing, unless I go really light, right? But the more I tilt it, the more it actually brings out the texture, right? So if I draw with the side of the pencil, that's where I get that kind of heavier texture, right? So that's just starting on the side and then going up vertically. Or I can start vertical and then move to the side. Which is a little harder. Yeah, so it has, I don't know, I love that because it's sort of, it just feels more like traditional media to me, which is always a good thing. So I'll use that a lot with brushes. And I think one of the things that I love about that is then you don't have to switch your brush as much, right? And I think that's sometimes what makes digital just feel sterile to me, is the fact that to do every little thing, you often have to switch tools, whereas with traditional, you can get a lot out of one brush or one pencil, you know? And lately, the fact that they've been able to kind of like figure that out digitally makes it so much more fun to use, I think. I mean, I don't think it matters that much to people who don't come from traditional, you know? I know some people who will still appreciate it, but for those of us who do come from the traditional side, it's pretty nice to be able to do something that at least kind of translates over, you know? What I didn't figure out and what I didn't even think about is, like, if I want any kind of a background or anything for this. I didn't even really, sort of just had this basic idea of a mood that I wanted. I didn't really didn't think too hard about where all that was gonna go. How's everyone's Sunday night? one point I thought maybe I'd get a stream in on Saturday and Sunday, but didn't happen. Oh well. So I gave this brush more size variation just to be able to do kind of a filbert sort of thing, right? For anyone who doesn't know, yo, thanks for the follow, Maya 244. So let's bring our trusty napkin back. So this one is a flat, right? Flat. And then that is a filbert, right? And a filbert, it can get a really wide variety of marks because it has that sort of rounded tip, and can come to a really nice, if it'll focus, like flat edge. I mean, so can a flat, mind you, that can go to a nice edge. But this one I feel like you have a little more control over those fine lines. Or if you do on the broad side, it starts like with that kind of tapered mark, right? Starts smaller and then broadens out. So it gives a particular, a very specific type of mark, right? And that's sort of what I was wanting to do with this brush. So I gave it more size variation, right? To be able to get that kind of taper, like a filbert. Like I said, I like my digital to feel kind of like my traditional. The only thing with Procreate, though, is it gets kind of weird when you try and do like a really fine, I don't know if I have one. I might. I don't know if I have it. This might have been my first calligraphic. Yeah, so, but this was brought in from Photoshop. I'm not sure why I didn't stick with it. I feel like this one maybe just didn't work as well or something. There's something to do with. I don't know. I'm not sure. But it is kind of nice because it does go much thinner. So I might have to do some variation on that. But Procreate gets a little weird when you try and make the brush too thin for whatever reason. I don't know why. Don't know why, but it does. What are you gonna do? We got too much art to do, Oz. It's not gonna get done otherwise. And Maya, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And Shadow Walk, thank you. Yeah, you know, I try to have my digital stuff feel as traditional as I can, and it's just like, that's just for me, right? To enjoy doing it. It's not any kind of a trying to trick people into thinking it's traditional or anything like that. It's purely just that that's what allows me to enjoy creating it. When once in a while I get in the mood to do something that is just strictly digital, clean, and all that stuff, you know. But usually I tend to want it to feel more textural, more visceral in that regard. Yeah. Half finished thoughts. Sorry. I'm trying to think if there are things I want to tweak on this bird, to kind of, you know, obviously we have her there, so we assume this bird is very giant, but I don't want it to just literally be like a raven scaled up, right? Like I kind of want to get in there at some point and get some little, like, much smaller feathers or something to make it start to feel larger, which is one of the reasons I made the eyes smaller, right? Because proportionally the eye would be a little bit bigger, but I do feel like when you make the eyes smaller like that, it helps kind of sell the scale of the bird a little more. Normally I would be watching football with girlfriend, but she's a little under the weather, so I'm pretty sure it's just a cold. But of course these days, you never know, right? And so it's like you get a little bit of a cold and then you're like, all right, gotta go get tested. Just to make sure, because if it's not just a cold, then you don't want to go spreading that shit around, right? Of course, if it is the Rona, then upside is that means it really doesn't affect her very much. So that's good. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's true. I think, you know, there is like a convenience, right? Even for people who love traditional work, there's a convenience working digitally. And it's not easy to give up, it gets tricky for me sometimes, and I'm just like, it means I gotta lay my materials out, and you're doing something, and then you're like, oh, this would be so much easier digitally. It's like, well, yeah, it would. You gotta remind yourself, yeah, it would be, but you don't end up with a physical piece at the end, right? Which, with with NFTs and stuff like that, the physical piece, the original, in terms of a physical original, doesn't matter as much. I mean, it still does, obviously. I still prefer a physical painting to a digital painting if it's something I'm going to buy, but I have bought some digital paintings because that's the way they exist, right? And that's fine. That's fine. But then, of course, for those of us who do love to create traditional, a lot of that is also the tactile feedback and stuff, right? And then, of course, given that visceral nature of physical art, I think that's why we also like to try and replicate some of that feeling digitally, right? Whether or not we come from traditional. And while I say I come from the traditional side, I have done far more digital painting than I have traditional. But I started out doing traditional. And then, of course, for years and years and years, my job was mostly traditional drawing. So, and I've only recently kind of started picking up digital drawing, right? Part of me wants to kind of cheat and just use some overlay layers to get some color variation and stuff, but I think if I want to do this eventually as an oil painting, then it will help me more to paint that iridescence in by hand, right? Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough one with kids unless you have like a room, that you can lock, so to speak. Because if you have materials in there, solvents and things, like obviously you don't want kids getting into those. Then obviously once they're older, you can kind of tell them like, don't play with this stuff, But when they're little, you tell them not to play with something, it's probably going to make them just want to play with it more, right? I don't feel like that ever goes away, though. Right? Also, by the way, Amarelia, hello. And Chelsea Quixote, hello. And welcome. Welcome. Alright. It's a tough one. I'll need to kind of, I don't know. Probably need to play around with some of this stuff to figure out. Because I don't need the wings to be any kind of photorealistic. I want the values and the colors to be accurate, but I already had the intent of going rather stylized with the wings, using them a bit more as a graphic element, a framing element, right? Rather than necessarily trying to paint like giant wings. But we'll see. I would like them to at least... They do have a particular... Man, they have so many little types of feathers that interlock and do all kinds of crazy things. It's cool. It's cool, but it's a pain in the ass. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, definitely most of the people my age started out doing traditional, but like I pursued it right up through college, and I actually had changed my major. I mean, I was always an illustration major, but I changed from having a focus in entertainment to having a focus in painting, because I knew I wouldn't learn to oil paint and watercolor on the job, right? So, sorry, I'm just trying to look for like decent wing reference. And thank you for that, Hydrate. There are a lot of ways to go more non-toxic, but realistically, with oil paints, you can only get so far away from that. If you really want to go like as non-toxic as possible, then you're better off doing like watercolor and gouache. But you still would need to be careful of the pigments that you get. Oils, there are ways to go non-toxic with it, for sure. Utrecht makes some non-cadmiums, so like where you might have cadmium yellow, they do like a non-cadmium yellow that is supposedly just as archival. I feel like the color is a little different. I'm not a huge fan. I don't use cadmium yellow anyway. I refrain from using cadmiums as much as possible. One of the big things you can do, though, if you want to oil paint and you want to make it fairly non-toxic, or as non-toxic as you can, is just swapping out the solvent for walnut oil. You know, and you can literally like... You could just use walnut oil from the grocery store. The stuff that's made for artists is just more filtered. It's more refined, so there is no sediment in it at all. Whereas a lot of times in the grocery store, you might get a little bit of sediment. But the walnut oil for artists is literally like food grade walnut oil. Like you could cook with it if you wanted to. Cheaper to just buy it at the grocery store, but you know. And like you can use that to thin your paint. You can use it to clean your brushes even. It works fantastic, but it extends drying time, makes it take way the fuck longer to dry. So there is that, and oftentimes people don't want to wait that long for things to dry. I'm trying to figure out some of these shapes. I feel like I'm gonna have to darken some things down here at some point, but that's okay. these to be a little one. Let's go a little darker down here. As that form kind of turns, I imagine it sort of turning and going under a little bit, so I want to darken some of this stuff down, I think. I also kind of want these feathers to be a little bigger. We'll see. We'll see. The nice thing is, if I do this in oils, there's a lot that I can get away with just with the natural texture of the oil paint. Like, I don't have to like really figure out, come on, give me that color. Let me grab that color. I don't have to completely figure out the anatomy of every feather, right? One of the things I love about feathers is that calligraphy, those tapered marks. Like, I love that shit. Makes me happy. I don't know why. There's something so satisfying about getting those tapered marks and then losing the edge. That I don't know what it is. Couldn't tell you. It's one of those weird things. Like, sometimes I think about that. Like, why, as artists, do we find certain shapes so satisfying to draw and paint? Even if they're really simple and we don't detail them out, they're just something sometimes that is so satisfying. Cammy! Welcome in, my friend. It's been a long time. I hope you are doing well. I'm thinking it's a raven. I'm basing it on a raven. The hard part is there are times you can just tell things are ravens, but really, the only true giveaway is the tail shape, and of course we can't see the tail. So. I don't know, man. I see some pretty big crows. There are times here I'll see, and it's hard to tell, right? Because crows usually are in larger numbers than ravens. But you'll see sometimes here just a lone crow hanging out. And some of them get pretty big, and I can't tell which one it is always until they actually fly and I can see the shape of their tail. The crow has that fan-shaped tail, and the raven has a diamond-shaped tail. Which is how you know the bird in the crow was actually a raven. But ravens also just kind of look cooler than crows. Which I think is why they used a raven in that movie. They survived quite well, actually. But, you know, they can also go up above the smog. It's all us landlocked ground dwellers that are screwed. Man, I need to figure out what the hell I'm gonna do in the background. And I don't know. I don't know. You will rarely ever see me rotate my canvas, by the way. There's nothing wrong with it, I just don't tend to do it. Except if I need to get like a very specific shaped mark. And then I will. Yeah, there's like some dramatic, cheesy Viking shit. Right? Like from some like cheesy 90s Viking movie or something. All right, what are we doing in that background? First, let's maybe simplify it a bit. Because I don't need it to be something necessarily, I mean, if I can think of something for it to be, that's fine. But I kind of don't want to place this in anywhere, like any environment that's too specific, because I feel like that would actually kind of detract from the vibe of it. So I don't want to do that, but do I want like a dark thing? Maybe I might want to go dark with it. Let's see. I don't hate the idea of going dark. It would change the vibe of this a lot, but let's try it. That's what layers are for, right? get to kind of see how this stuff would work, but I don't hate the idea of this raven sort of like almost appearing out of the dark. Right. I'm kind of okay with that idea. Let's see. I don't know. All right, Joey. We will be here. I don't know if it's a familiar necessarily. Maybe, kind of. Part of me was thinking like, you know, instead of like a dragon mount, having like a raven mount, because that would just be really cool. I want one of those, which is why I'm painting it. Right? Who wouldn't love like a giant raven? I sure as hell would. Hell, I'd like a regular sized raven. They're just such cool birds. I don't know what the hell I would do with a raven, but it would be kind of rad. So this just as an idea. I don't know. I'll keep it, but I kind of like it. Address some of these edges to give it the right mood here. Right, because part of what this will allow me to do is kind of lose some edges in a way and let some shapes kind of melt in and out of the background. Just airbrushing this darker. Me and my limited values. Although realistically, like her skin is gonna get pretty bright, but that's sort of the idea, right? Is I want I want the bird to be a little more subtle. And welcome in. Hello, Cosmonaut. How you doing? Actually, I've heard you can find there's some videos of people teaching their I know at least crows to speak, and it's really fucking creepy. Because they sound like a person. Because the way their vocals are, it's not like a parrot, which just sounds like a parrot, right? Well, I think the idea with dragons, right, is that they're capable, depending on the lore, they're capable of intelligent speech, not just mimicking, right? So, but yeah, ravens are pretty damn smart, as are crows. Just debating how like abstract I want the background to be. Whoops, no, I don't want an alpha lock. Damn it. What do I want? I want a new layer. Wow. Wow. Brain. Cooperate. I don't know if this is what I want to do or not, but it might be. It might be. We shall see. Just gotta bear with me a little bit. Kinda don't hate the idea of just getting some Hellfire Red sneaking in there. Not too much, but, you know, some. It'd be kind of fun to get some even in the inside the shadows. Partly as just a color choice, but also sort of gives it a bit of a surreal kind of vibe, right? We don't know where that red is coming from necessarily. Like, I don't hate the idea. Yeah, I mean, the background can completely change the tone, right? Because if we did something like, we did a really light background, it would give it a completely different vibe. Which I'm never opposed to, by the way. I love paintings that have really limited values with a really light background. I'm not gonna do a light background in this one because I feel like I've done a bit of those lately and I don't necessarily want to, but it could be fun to just see what it would look like, right? Just because we can, why not? I'm gonna change my brush though. And just to kind of see how it changes the feeling of the value grouping. Those limited values, right? And just because it was something I had considered, and rather than just dismiss it out of hand, since we are working digitally, it's easy enough to just see, like, let's make sure that it's really not what I want. Even though I know it's not what I want, but... Too curious not to at least venture into it. Right, that very much changes. Changes the vibe. I don't hate it, but it is not really what I want. I like that raven kind of coming out of the dark a bit. I think that'll be fun to play with. Yeah. 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 Alright, let's think about... I keep seeing, by the way, this that straight line, and it is bugging me. Feel like I need to get a little more variety maybe in that shape. I'll have to think about how I want to do that. I feel like maybe there are a couple options. One, I could have some things coming off the feathers a bit, right? just because, like I said, I don't need to have this be like photo real per se. You know, I want to have the right values and stuff and colors, but I don't need it to be like rendered in a photo real way. So I feel like there's some room to sort of have fun and play with the feathers a little bit. You know? I do want to lose some of those edges. I don't want to. As soon as we start trying to define every single feather, we're screwed. We paint ourselves into a very time-intensive corner. Don't want to do that. All right. Now her robes, I kind of like that sort of greenish gray that her robes are already, but I don't know. I mean, it's fun. It's kind of like right now it's sort of an exercise in gray, you know, which I'm always down for. I love that shit. It's like full color grayscale, if we can make that a thing. It's not really a thing, but we can pretend it's a thing. Oh, man. Did a bunch of push-ups last night, and I'm feeling it in my shoulders, which just tells me I need to keep doing that. I need a bit more color on this guy. And his neck beard. Or her neck beard. I don't know. It could be a girl raven, for all I know. All right. Let's get these robes going. First, I want to get some accents, dark accents. I have ideas for like little details and things, little bones and stuff that she'll have like adorning her. feel like this light source is probably just fairly top down. I don't really feel like a direction, like another direction would do anything for this, right? Like kicking it left or right, I don't really think it would add to it. In fact, it might even detract from it. So I think we're just going to kind of run with a pretty top-down kind of deal. And then, of course, always the challenge of painting like really fair skin, especially in something like this where you don't necessarily have like a crazy light source. I mean, we could obviously we could go as crazy with the light sources we want, but when you don't have a lot of stuff for the skin to grab color from, right? Because when you get into that really like porcelain skin, it almost takes on more color from the environment than it does from anything else, and it can be a tricky one, right? I mean, it's not unlike painting a white object inside a space, right? Because usually it's not actually white unless it's catching a very bright color balanced light, and then some of it might be white, but it would have to be in a pretty controlled environment, or at least a very specific environment. So so let's just man, all right. Never underestimate the value of reference. Of course, I don't know if I have reference that like specifically works in this lighting scenario. I might, maybe, perhaps. It's a tough one. Well, if that was in color, it would work, but it ain't, so it don't. maybe we just end up having to go cooler in the lights to kind of give it that vibe. And to kind of capture that feeling of, the local color being something very light. Don't worry, I know her arm looks like a noodle right now, but I'm painting the darks into it so that I can paint back, so I can cut the form back out when I get into the light. Yeah, with the when we get into like a really light local color, then usually that means we can't obviously go as dark on the shadows. Let's see. And then there's also a matter of how detailed do I want to go on this piece overall, right? So do I want to zoom in and really get into the features on her face, or do I not actually want to like go that heavily into it, right? And I don't know. I don't know the answer to that one. We'll see. Because right now I'm doing this, the dimensions on this are 12 by 16, which is the panel I was thinking of doing it on. But obviously I can't zoom in when I'm doing traditional. So if I want to get into very specific features... Raid! Raid! Studio! Hello, and welcome. Hello, Raiders. How are you? Kind of want to keep this one a little looser. Studio, how was your stream? And what did you do? So I'm in the middle of figuring out colors that I want to use on what will end up being very fair skin. So it's a little tricky. Studio, if you want to show us what you worked on stream, please feel free. Or if you have to jet, I understand that too. Sometimes I just want to raid and dash. Sometimes I want to hang out a bit. Oh, nice. Man, I haven't played like an Alien game in ages. I was a big fan of the first Alien vs. Predator game. I loved that shit. I loved playing as an alien and just fucking running all over the place on all the walls and shit and just annihilating the poor space marines. But I also loved playing as a space marine because you're just like everyone's bitch and it was scary as hell. How like you could have either night vision or your motion detector, but you couldn't have both. It was like, oh, that shit was so nerve-wracking. I loved it though. But like pretty much anything could just fucking take you out. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, right on. Dude, these are great, man. I love these. I've been seeing you posting these lately on Instagram, and I love them. They're so fun. What are these for? Are you doing these for something in particular? They have so much character. Oh, that'd be fun. They would make some very fun sculpts. Faux show. Think about exactly what I want that hand to be doing, and I'm not sure. I mean, touching the wing, I know, but Trying to get this kind of framing of everything to feel right. I don't know exactly what that is, but, you know, we'll get there. Which is exactly why I do digital comps rather than jumping right into the oils. And it's funny, I used to be a little more comfortable jumping right into oils, but I think that was before I had gotten like more particular with my mark making, where now usually the mark making, even if I don't always do it in the digital side, I have certain things in mind for certain areas, and some of that is predicated on being very direct with it and not sitting there and fussing with the surface too much, right? So because oil paint lays down in a particular way, and sometimes the only way to get certain marks is to just, you know, put something down and not mess with it too much. You can do a little bit, but you don't want to like scrub too much. And then there are other marks where the only way to get them is to scrub around a bit. So, you know, you have to kind of be aware of what you're trying to do. And it's not to say that like, oh, hey, I didn't quite get the mark I wanted, so, you know, like there's nothing wrong with then saying, well, okay, let's try something different, right? Or if you're still very set on getting a particular type of mark and it didn't work out, then sometimes what you have to do is scrape it down, not the whole painting, but that area, and then let it almost completely dry and then try it again. Right. I don't have the patience for that. I'll just you know, alter my plans a little bit. But I also try and, you know, avoid some of that stuff by doing these digital comps that kind of let me figure out some of those pitfalls. And then I can always look at my reference and decide while I'm painting, like, you know what, I want these kinds of marks here. Sometimes I have them in my head already, sometimes I don't. I think I want this these robes to be a little bit darker. By the way, Wolf Wraith, thanks for the follow. I didn't say that earlier. Sorry, I was distracted trying to figure out skin tones, which I still haven't totally figured out, but we'll get there. I mean, one of the main things I'm doing is I'm cooling it off, right? So we've gone from this much more red color, and we're kind of moving over to where the lights, I may actually even go into some blue, like green blue, because I feel like skin tone, especially that porcelain skin tone, needs some greens in there, but way desat, so we'll see for those highlights. Or for the lights, since I don't think I'll get into any like point highlights. You know, we'll keep it maybe a little more naturalist than that. A little more ambient, I think. I don't know if I want to go that green with it. So we could go more. Like that. Yeah, I think I like that more. We'll still get some greens in the skin tone, but I think the lights will stick with these way deset purpley blues. Let's see here. Just trying to find a good like mid-tone just to get some subtle rendering, form turning. All that good stuff. I guess my mid-tone is turning into the shadows. I'm trying to lighten those shadows a bit just so I can, again, reinforce some of the really light skin vibes. Deathly pale is our witch. Thanks, Shadowwalk. I appreciate that. Let's get shadow of her hand here. I'm trying to decide how much I want to detail this hand. And it doesn't need to be detailed, right? We've learned that from Sargent. We can get away with some pretty loose hands, right? Where's that actually, let's look at the full thing. I bet there's some good hands in here in our giant right in that piece, super high res. And man, all those hands. That girl up in front with the basket, like those hands, there's hardly anything going on, and yet the amount of information, it's crazy. That cool light on the left-hand side, that hand that's partly in the sun, that's so fucking rad. God damn you, Sergeant. And then the kid in the back, when you zoom in, like just looks like some weird little cartoon, but man, the lighting is so good. Ridiculous. Ridicule. But hey, he shows us how little information you really need to get the point across, right? Good old Sergeant. Yeah, there we go. I like that. Bit of yellow in the skin. So I always say that skin has more green than we might think it does, but it's not literally like green per se, right? It can be in the form of like a dark yellow even, which tends to just go pretty green. And of course, this is, as I've been saying, my tendency to just go lighter and lighter with stuff until it just gets blown out. I have to be really careful not to do that with this one. Especially with that light skin, it doesn't give a whole lot of room for color, right? To sit in those really high value ranges. You gotta kind of be careful how you do that chroma. Yeah, actually, like, I mean, I don't encourage anyone to do this. Don't look directly at the sun. But if you happen to look directly at the sun, you will notice that it is essentially like a super high value yellow green, right? And like if we were going to paint a sun, right, we might start somewhere like, you know, in this range, move into there, and then the brightest color that we're ever really gonna get is right about there. And we can mix this color, right? But that is what's going to get you a sense of light. And this is a mixable color, like in traditional paint, right? And that is what's going to give you a sense of this thing being bright, versus if you throw white in there and it just kind of flattens out. It makes that a very dead kind of a brightness, right? Versus this, which actually gives us a sense of luminosity because we can still have some chroma in there. And that's usually that's what's going to give you a more accurate or like a more luminous feeling. Even in digital, right? Like even with digital, I do everything I can to avoid true white or true black in any of my paintings. Once in a while, like sometimes I don't mind if it goes there with like post, you know, but I tend to avoid those at all costs. Because they'll just, all they'll do is start to flatten everything out. So but yeah, with the sun you can actually see the green. But don't look directly at the sun. Gotta make sure this stuff is wrapping around properly, right? So with cloth, and this is something that I do with when I'm doing the traditional side of things, I will tend to start with just getting these shadows in, and then I'll just like very loosely and pretty quickly lay lights over it. But I tend to keep those marks pretty broken. It took me a while to figure out like a way of painting cloth that worked for me. I would see people render the hell out of it and I'd be so impressed and be like, I'm gonna do that, and man, it would just fall flat. It would just look so lifeless when I did that. And then one day I did do I have it here? I might have it here. Let's look. Yeah. self-portrait, which I chipped because I did not take as good a care of it as I should have. But when I did this self-portrait, I learned a lot about painting cloth and material on this one. Most of that was done with a palette knife. Most of the fabric and stuff. Well, no, there's brushwork on top, but I know I at least started it with palette knife because when I would get too tight on the clothing, it just didn't work. I couldn't do it. It would just flatten out and deaden the whole thing, and so I had to learn to kind of do a looser take on it, you know, which you can really see in the hat there. But yeah. And man, I have to say, I still love how that under the ear, I just laid straight alizarin crimson mixed with cad red medium. And then before it dried, I just painted into that. And I love how that color popped out. A lot of fun. But there you can see I chipped on the beard, and on the bottom there I got a couple of chips. But that's okay. It's okay. I may or may not fix it. I don't know. I may just varnish the hell out of it and say, hey, that's part of it, right? So, but here you can also clearly see how much I love to let that underpainting show through, right? I don't like to cover all of that up. I think it adds a lot more life to it when you don't get overly tight. Shit around. And thank you, Don Lee. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm always kind of, just trying to see how much I can get away with, right? How little I can get away with painting. Like, can I, like, just barely indicate something and have it read, you know? Not with everything, because there are, I do actually enjoy describing materials more, in more detail. I have a lot of fun with that. Which is weird because I don't really like to paint still lives, right? And yet that's all still lives are, is just like defining materials. It's kind of the whole point of them. And yet I do not really enjoy, which isn't actually, that's not true anymore. I don't think, even though I don't really do them, I have been wanting to, because for that reason, because it's just like, it's the best way to kind of study materials and lighting and figure out shorthands, for describing those things, which I would like to do for my illustrations, right? For when I am painting stuff out of my head. So maybe we'll do that soon. Set up a kind of a still life thing, and paint that. I could set up a still life, and then I could at least snap a picture of it and put it up on Discord for people to see what it is I'm referencing, though knowing that things always look different in person, right? Than they do through the lens. So I do like that greenish gray. I kind of want to, similar to how we cooled off the highlights on her, I think we might do the same here. Maybe we won't do it quite that much though. Actually, I think we'll go warmer, but desat. Let's do that. Because the desat will cool it off. But I just don't want it. I don't want it to be just like the same color, just desaturated, right? That is rather unsophisticated. We can't have that. Ain't no unsophistication here. Probably also get some lights in her hair. Highlights at least. Wilderness box, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we're coming along. Having some fun. Just kind of, I don't know, exploring, experimenting. I didn't really have something clear in mind as far as colors and stuff went when I did this, but when I did the thumbnail, right, which I'm trying to think if there's a safe way I can show you the original thumbnail, because I don't know what all I have in the in my photos, like for reference and stuff. I don't want to risk I mean, like, first of all, let's do this. Let's group these guys, shall we? So that's kind of, obviously I did some smudging and stuff, but the original thumb was just ink, you know, India ink in my, India ink and platinum carbon ink in my moleskin. So I didn't really have an idea as far as where I was going to go with the color and stuff, but, you know, we're getting there. We are getting there. Yeah, also, yeah, when we get into October, it's fun to get into the witchy, spooky vibes. Even though this one wasn't, it's not going for spooky. I don't really think it's spooky. It's just witchy vibes, right? We did spooky last time. Yeah, I tend to always start. I tend to always. That doesn't really work. I usually start with traditional stuff, like when I'm thumbnailing. It's a little easier for me to think through stuff, even if I have to like redo it multiple times. There's something about it that just helps me think through it more clearly than if I'm trying to concept digitally. I'll still do that occasionally as well, because sometimes it's just easier, it's quicker, I can get to a full range of values much faster, but that's not always where my head's at. Yeah. Plus, sometimes with digital, it's a little too easy to get into like details and shit that doesn't matter in a thumbnail, and then I waste time sometimes doing that. All right, let's address her staff a little bit too. We were hiking one time at our friend's place up in the mountains, and it was tiny girlfriend and I, and our friends, and we found this really cool. I think it was just like a branch from a pine tree, but it just had this cool like crook at the top, and it was just kind of looked like a crazy wizard staff. In fact, I think we even took pictures of tiny girlfriend doing the "You shall not pass." I'm pretty sure. But that's what I was thinking of. I should probably at some point pull out those pictures so that I can see if there are details I'm forgetting that might be fun to use, which I'm sure there are. But sometimes I like to just see what I can do from memory, and then maybe pull out some reference and see what needs to change, right? Always trying to hone that memory. Shadowwalk, have a great night. Thanks for hanging out. Glad you could lurk. Oh, I'm even getting a little tired. We're only 2.5 hours in. Yeah, I agree. Wilderness. It's also just like, I think it helps us get a little more mileage too, when we can't just add a new layer to tweak something or undo stuff or whatever. It kind of gives us just a little more mileage if we're like, okay, cool, yeah, this idea looks good, but what if I tweak this and this, and then we have to actually redraw it, feel like that's a good thing. All right. Let's get this. I should actually not be painting around this staff. That's just gonna cause problems. And digital, we don't have to, right? Even in the traditional, I don't know exactly how I would handle it. Maybe I wouldn't. I don't know if I would just paint through and over and stuff and then paint the staff on top. I could. It kind of would just depend on the look, I guess, overall of that I want from the texture. And I'm also trying to decide, do I want to do this on a 12 by 16 inch panel, which I have, or do I want to do, would I want to paint this a little bit larger? If I kept it loose, I could probably do the 12 by 16. It's a pretty small panel, all things considered. Thanks. Yeah, I want to get some of that iridescence, you know, that you get on feathers, especially black feathers. So that's kind of what I'll sneak in a little bit more color in there, color variation, but not quite yet. I feel like I don't need to get that myopic just yet. I feel like that's more of a at the very end kind of a thing, because I'm not entirely sure how much I want to do. Let's get some of this stuff a little threadbare. By the way, do you know how difficult it is to find like a ragged cloak like this anywhere? I mean, and I looked, and then the ones that were just like so cheesy, like so clearly deliberately done that way. Nothing was like truly, nothing looked like it was truly threadbare in any way. So I figure I'll probably just need to get something and try and age it myself, and I don't know. Then I need the right material, because I'm trying to get some stuff to actually shoot some reference with, you know. I'm like, it's fun to make things up out of my head. I enjoy doing it. Actually, I love doing it, but at the same time, like, I'm just feeling the need to sort of push my stuff a bit further. And I think there's when you want to get into certain areas with your art, you need to start using a bit more reference for stuff. You don't have to do it for everything, but enough to make it, you know, to lend some credibility to the whole thing. Right. Yeah, the problem is the Halloween ones look just like really cheesy, and they're usually really cheaply made, you know? So usually the stuff that I actually avoid Halloween shops and costumes at all costs. Most of the stuff I'll get will be either off of Etsy or like from Ren Fair shops, because those are usually really well made, you know, and they'll use actual cotton or wool. It's not just all synthetic plasticky shit. So that's usually where I look for any of the things I get for reference, because I tend to do largely fantasy stuff. So you know, the sci-fi stuff is different. for that, it can be as synthetic as you want, right? All right. Let's see. Debating. Yeah. It's that it's getting that right cloth, right? It's tricky. Oh man, I need to actually be stretching regularly lately, which I have not been doing enough of. Especially my lower back, glutes, and hamstrings. Oh. Oh, man. Alright, I'm actually going to use the restroom real quick. I will BRB. Okay. 6:30 a.m. Joey, so have you just been up all night? Your iPad will mess you up if you use it too long? How so? I mean, my old one would start to screw up after a while. Which is why I ended up getting a new one. So my old one was on the fritz. Let's keep that actually to the red. was I doing? I was painting the staff. That's what I was doing. Needed something done. Got some inspiration around midnight. Man, you're crazy. Thanks for hanging out, man. I appreciate that. My schedule, for whatever reason, I don't know why, but last week, just midweek, all of a sudden, I was just like staying up. I forget which Wednesday night, I think I ended up just staying up till like 1 a.m., which I had not done in ages, but I just wasn't tired, so I was just sketching. I was just like, God damn it, I have to get up tomorrow. Because, Thursday morning meetings. So I'm trying to get back to a, better schedule, but it's not easy. All right, Nixolotl. You have a good night. Hope you sleep well. Thank you for hanging out. I imagine her with little, I don't know, bird bones and things hanging from the staff. I don't know why, but that's what I'm picturing. Not to mention, she will be adorned with some bones and stuff too. So we can't forget that stuff. Little details, right? Gonna make some of these things come to life a little bit. This is where that indication kind of comes in handy, because I'm not going to sit there and render every single one of these. Mad respect to those artists that would do that kind of stuff, though. Man, some of those guys, like, some of those, like, paintings of cathedrals and shit where they literally got in there and painted every fucking carving, and like those Gothic cathedrals that were just super, super embellished. Man, I don't know how the hell they had the patience for that. I would go insane. Granted, a lot of them didn't necessarily have a choice. It's like, a commission, and if they wanted to make a living, that was what they had to do. Lots of church paintings. Can you imagine if we went back to those times, just with our the things we know how to paint, and like the concept art mentality? Like, it's just pretty sure we would get like burned for witchcraft or something. Imagining the demons that we can imagine. Pretty sure the church would not have been happy. My Sistine Chapel would have looked a little more terrifying. Which, who knows, maybe they would have liked it, right? They loved to just fucking scare the shit out of the peasants. Oh. Yeah, that white paint would have fucked us up, huh? A lot of that would have been like lead white. When did they start doing titanium white? I don't know when that pigment started. I think I want the highlights in her hair go a little more blue. I don't want it to be too much like the color of the raven's wings. So I don't mind it going there. Like, obviously tying them together like that is kind of cool. I don't hate the idea at all. And this is where I won't go to true black, right? But I'll skirt it pretty closely. Usually, though, if you're gonna go really dark and you basically nudge into black, you're better off keeping it warmer. It tends to have a bit more depth than like a really cold black. At least that's what I've found. That's fun. I'm digging that. kind of fun as a painting. I don't know. I don't really know what the story is or anything, but I like it. I might tone that red down a little more. Yeah, keep it a little more subtle, I think. Yeah, I mean, man, like obviously you could start pretty much any art movement you wanted, right? Being from the future, you would know, but you'd have to be careful if you went back too far, right? Like if you started throwing around cubism in the 1500s, yeah, they would not have been happy at all. It would have been. They probably would have thought you were possessed. A little more iridescence on these feathers, but subtle, right? It's just that kind of play between purples and blues and aquas. I'm just going to cheat that curve a little bit. And just I mean, granted, not that I would want to start Cubism as a movement anyway. I can appreciate for what it is and, you know, what it did historically, but not my cup of tea. I was looking at a couple pictures of ravens to see if there's like some ideas I can get. Man, I love the way that the feathers around the head just go in all these different directions. I think that's really cool. I just don't know like how detailed I want to get with that. Some of that I could obviously decide in the oils, right? Because just because I can do the detail here, it doesn't mean that it would translate, right? At a certain point, I would need to make the painting bigger than my current intention to get the same amount of detail, or just break out super tiny brushes, which just sounds really not fun to me. Like, I don't mind getting into some little details, but not when you're getting into literally like hairs and little tiny feathers and shit. Like, that's a little too much. But for our purposes here, fuck it, why not, right? Let's do it. Let's get some of that in there. By the way, I've been building a list of cocktails, which I totally forgot to mention earlier. So if you type !cocktail, you'll get a random cocktail recipe. And these are all like my favorite cocktails, so. Yes, cocktails. Ooh, you got the Landerman Hatton. Sweet. I think I have like currently 21 or 22 cocktails on the list. So I'm going to keep adding to it as I remember some and all that. Whiskey sours are good. I think I have a whiskey sour. No, did I put it? I know I put a sidecar in there. I may not have put a whiskey sour. I have a good recipe for that somewhere. Like, I definitely put my takes on some of those classics, Manhattans. I think there may be kind of a couple different Manhattans, the Negroni, like sort of the way that I like to make them. Think of this one has these awesome like feathery cheeks. I mean, obviously the whole bird is feathery, but these are like really fine feathers on the cheeks. I like it. I like it. Oh man, I don't know how I feel about amaretto. If you get a good amaretto, as with any of those things, right? Same with orgeat. Like a good orgeat is delicious. A bad one is fucking awful. But like a good orgeat will make or break a Trinidad sour. I do prefer less sweet drinks. It's like I love a good sidecar, but most of the time I make them too sweet. I don't need this to be detailed, of course, but let's at least get a little bit of modeling on her. Don't need much. Damn it. I'm so tempted to do some more like point light eyes because I just love doing that shit, but I don't think that's actually the vibe I want with her, even though it's very tempting. Very tempting. Like, it's like, it's so tempting, but, and it's fucking cool, but I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. Sandman's death if she weren't in street clothes. Sandman's death. I don't know that character. I never really read the Sandman books. So yeah, I'm not too familiar with it. TNT, thanks for the follow. Let's see what else we've got. I'm curious. Whoops, I should probably be in the chat. How about that? Cocktail! Why does it go into the Lander Manhattan again? We're gonna try this again. Yay! A different one. That's weird that it went to the Lander Manhattan twice. It's like, it should be random pulls. Oh, interesting. Okay. It's funny, you know, I realize I have not read a lot of Neil Gaiman. And I feel like I should, because like he's such a well-respected writer. And I realize I really have not read much of his stuff at all. In fact, I don't even know. I know I've read something, but I don't remember what it was at all. So I feel like I should read some of his stuff at some point. All right. Do I want to get her eyelids in there where they could just be, you know, these like coal darkened kinds of things? I'm a little apprehensive because I don't know how. I don't want to like paint myself into a corner trying to replicate these tiny little details. Oh, but I did kind of want to give her like kind of some kind of paint, face paint sort of stuff. Let's see. That's fun. Yeah, I heard that he reads most of his stuff, which is cool because he has a great voice. So yeah, I'd like to. I should check out his stuff. And I mean, has most of his stuff been graphic novels? Does he write like just straight up novels at all? I'm assuming that's what you're listening to with his stuff, or his novels. I just can't remember like the novels that he's written. Man, I tried to read some Cormac McCarthy not too long ago, and I love some of his stuff. I love his writing a lot. It's just when you're not in the right headspace, oh man, that shit is hard to get through. He gets so poetic, and he just sort of bounces between almost modern and Middle English in a way, and it's like it's like half the time I don't know what that word means. I have to look it up, and it's just like, who the fuck uses it that way anymore? It'll be some like old kind of archaic way of using a word, and it's like, jeez. That guy's like understanding of the English language is stupid. It's ridiculous. Thanks, Wilderness Box. Yeah, it's tough because he gets so poetic, and I mean the dude's like 80 something at this point, you know. So you think about what might have been more romantic and poetic language when he was younger, right? And like that kicks it back pretty far. Similarly, I mean, if you read Lord of the Rings now, you know, there's some very old ways of using words in those books that people just don't use those words or don't use them that way anymore. And it's like, it's interesting. I used to really love that kind of stuff when I was younger. I found I'm not as into it. But I used to love that stuff. I mean, to a degree, I still do. Like, The Road is just a fantastic, amazing book. No Country for Old Men is just an amazing book. But I was trying to get through Outer Dark, and oh man, it's also tough, like, if you're not in the mood for, like, a heavy, like, whoa, Kirk Shannon coming in hot. Coming in hot. Massive raid. Welcome. Welcome, raiders. I guess I should give y'all the speech, huh? For anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Daniel Landerman. I work as a illustrator and sketch artist in entertainment advertising, helping to design key art for film, TV, and video games. That's what I do for my day job. Outside of that, I kind of just illustrate whatever stories pop into my head. So that's what I do. Kirk Shannon, thank you for that raid. I appreciate it. And hello, Hesaldma. Let me thank you guys. Martian Phoenix, Zombel, Penex Inc., Bracket, TRS the Rogue Shadow. Thank y'all for the follows. Raven Tornheart, how fitting. Ven Farrell, welcome, welcome. Kirk Shannon, I understand if you need to raid and go, but if you want to share what you worked on stream, feel free. I'd love to check it out. Thank you for bringing your fam over, your homies. I appreciate that. Kind of thinking we need to get I'm basically doing this as like a digital comp for what will be an oil painting, because it's easier to figure out the colors and all that digitally. He had a St. Jude's fundraiser stream for his Twitch 3 years. Nice. Nice. Martian Phoenix, thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks, man. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Heard you were doing a fundraiser, which is super cool. I actually have not done that on Twitch before. So that's pretty rad that you're doing that. And Kirk, if you want to share what you did on stream, feel free. I'd love to check it out. Sorry, I just realized some of this stuff was a little too repetitive and I needed to break it up a little bit. Which, I mean, you know, feathers do get repetitive, but we can still give it a little bit of an organic feel. Right on. That's awesome. I'm glad it went well. I don't actually, Rogue Shadow. You mean like if I use my digital piece as reference for traditional? The only reason I don't is because I'm very conscious of where I'm going on the digital side as far as, you know, pushing too far into saturation, right? So I try and keep it pretty well within a very doable range. Like, I'm very aware of what my colors can get to on my oil paint palette. So, you know, in that regard, you know, like if we choose the lightest color here, right? I mean, that's just a slightly purple gray, you know, like just nudging that off of a perfect gray. And let's see, this is probably the most saturated color, but that's totally doable. And I doubt I would go that saturated in the oils, but it's still completely doable. Everything else, it just sits like well within, pretty much all within that left-hand side of the palette. So nothing gets like out of hand in terms of saturation and stuff. So I just make sure that I'm aware of where I'm pushing it. And I think when you're doing a digital piece and you're going to use it as reference, the danger is if you get into using, any of the clever blending modes and stuff, overlay, soft light, add, or color dodge, then you start getting into some pretty tricky things to match with traditional. So I try and stay away from those. Quick photo of the ink I finished tonight. Oh, right on. Sweet. Nice, dude. What were you using? Like, in terms of tools? I'm assuming it's an actual ink if it's a photo. Like, is this digital inks or is this actual ink? Microns. Nice. Right on. Crazy. Man, I haven't used microns in ages. Looks great. Hell yeah. And good job on the hatching, dude. I rarely have the patience for true hatching. I start doing it thinking like, yeah, this is gonna be great. I'm gonna get all designy and get my Sergio Topi on, and then I just get impatient. I'm like, this would be so much easier with a wash. I'm just gonna do an ink wash. It's just like, yeah, I can't keep up with it. So good on you for jamming on that. Yeah, Topi. Ugh, that guy. This actually started as a ink thumb, right? So I smudged a bunch, but the actual thumbnail was in my Moleskine with ink wash and yeah, little fountain pen, little brush pen. And it was kind of a toss-up. I was either gonna start this one or I was gonna start this one tonight, and this one is all just ink and white gouache and Twitch pasties. Obviously very Bouguereau inspired, but I'll get to this one at some point. Not tonight, but this will be the next one. I think. But yeah, also done in my Moleskine. So yeah, I love inks, but I just like, I get impatient. I just want to throw a wash on everything just to, move it along. Oh, right on. I feel like I was on your stream recently. I think. Maybe? I'm not sure. Perhaps. I think it's been a bit. I was kind of like not on Twitch for a minute because I was super busy with work and Twitch was distracting me. Hang on. Girlfriend text that I have to respond to. Kirk, do you do any inks with brushes at all? I love gold too, by the way. I was just wondering because I just picked up this Zig, this Kuretake Zig cartoonist brush that's like Kolinsky sable, and just like looking at that point that thing can go to, I'm excited to use this. I haven't used it yet, it just arrived today, but it looks pretty badass. I'm excited. And yeah, I love gold leaf as well, and silver leaf. I did one piece over here that has some silver leaf, a little oil painting with silver leaf on it. It's pretty fun. I need to varnish this. I'm just waiting a little bit longer, and I'll probably varnish it on stream. It'll be fun, like, for you guys to see the way it pops once you put that varnish on. It's always a fun transition to see. So, yeah. And this was just a test to see like how the leaf would work, and I actually really like the textures that it ended up with. So that's a lot of fun. And then I have this other one. If you bear with me for a hot minute, I'll have to censor it. Since Twitch don't like the nip or other bits. Alright, so then I have this ink drawing with some moon gold leaf. Alright, on some heavyweight watercolor paper. Which is a lot of fun. So, had a good time with this one. Good times, good times. All right, Kirk, thanks for bringing your fam. I appreciate it. I'll definitely look out for your stream again soon. So, yeah. Anyway, I actually am trying to figure out how to do some limited edition prints of this. It won't look exactly the same because I'm not going to hand apply leaf on all the prints because I do not have the time for that, but it'll still look cool. So, anyway, I love that moon gold because it's not as hot as normal gold leaf. It's basically 24 karat leaf that's been mixed down to 21 karat with silver. So it takes on a cooler kind of a hue, right? And it just, it keeps it from getting too hot. And I'm obsessed. So, thanks guys. I'm glad you like that stuff. It's a lot of fun. I appreciate you. I mean, it'd be fun to figure out who. I wonder, hang on, where's our... This should have actually been in my painting studies. That's the section it should have been in. Let me just make sure we can... No, hang on, guys. Temporary blackout. And we're back. Sorry, had to put the pasties on. So this one is another one that I actually want to do an oil painting of. But that whole molten looking area down her center will be gold leaf. So that's my thinking, including her eyes will be gold leaf. So that'll be fun. And then hello, back to gallery. Do I have? Yes, she is censored as well. And this one also, I think the sort of ochre colored marks on those 3 dragons will be gold leaf as well. We got to finish this piece too. I want to do a little more rendering on the dragons to figure out those values before I actually start painting. I have the drawing on the panel next to me, but I just want to figure this out a little bit more before I actually start painting. So, yeah. That'll be a fun one. It'll be fun. So let's see, there's 1, 2, yeah. It'll be good. I'll have like 4 different pieces now that I can start to paint up, and as one dries, I can bounce around to the others. So that'll be good. It'll be good. Yeah. Oh, that one with the silver leaf, you can see, right? That this was the digital comp for it. Oh, that's what I needed to do. I still want to do the silver around her eye. I forgot. I knew there was something else. All these different steps, right? Get in. What are you doing? Are you going crazy? Huh? She's going crazy. Little cat. All right, I probably won't. I don't think I'll go for too much longer because, gotta get up for work in the morning. And when you run the department, you can't really slack off on stuff like that. So, especially when they pay all my bills. I had addressed that wing on the right to be a little more accurate, and I didn't really do it on the one on the left, and I should have. So let's get rid of some of these accents and do this right. Let me see, what black do I want? Let's go up here. I wish it was that simple. I mean, honestly, like, you know, it. The good thing is they're very understanding at work as far as if you need a break, if you know, because they know it's advertising, right? It's a high octane industry, high octane environment. Deadlines are insane most of the time. And so they get that. So luckily, um, you know, they've never denied me when I needed time off. You know, they've never. And granted, they also don't limit our vacation time, right? Because they understand that when you're rested and in a good headspace, that's when you create your best work, right? So they're pretty rad about that stuff. I just need to, you know, make sure I'm present for keeping on top of when everything's due and who's doing what, and because we always get kind of last second asks, I should say. Well, no, actually, last minute is pretty accurate. Also, Penex Inc., thank you. Yeah, I'm like, I love indication, right? I love kind of seeing what I can get away with as far as like how little I need to do to kind of get an idea across. And I feel like it is more powerful that way, right? If we can leave a little bit to the imagination of the viewer, I feel like it makes it more interactive. It pulls the viewer in to the piece and allows them to kind of be part of it to fill in those gaps. And I always feel like that is a lot more powerful than just spelling everything out, right? If we spell out everything, that to me that becomes more of a testament to our, you know, how kind of the facility we have on a technical level, right, with the medium. It's like, oh, check out this subtle rendering that I can do, and every little detail is in there, and that's great. But I feel like that also sort of defeats the purpose of painting, right? In a way. And I know, like, that's subjective, mind you. That is very subjective. Because there are people who absolutely love rendering the shit out of stuff. And there are people who love buying paintings that are super rendered. So, I'm by no means making a definitive statement there. That's just my feeling that things are just kind of better when they're, or more intriguing at least, when they're indicated. That stuff makes me happy. Yeah, Don Lee, they're good people over there, I have to say. Like, they're very understanding. You know, they want to take care of the people at the company. It's why they started the company in the first place, because they had all come from other agencies that would just run their people into the ground, you know, working constant weekends and just pulling insanely long days because some client called up at 6 p.m. and was like, hey, we need this thing for a walk-in tomorrow morning. And it's like, cool, now everyone needs to stay till like 11 to get this thing done. When it's like, really? You guys couldn't have given us a heads up before? And so they kind of wanted to foster an environment that didn't just cater to that stuff and kind of took care of, you know, the people that make the company what it is. Penx, do you stream at all? Do you, obviously you do, I'm assuming you do art, but I don't know if you stream or not. And if so, what kind of stuff do you stream? I want to get a little bit of... Right on. Yeah, you know, it's funny. I did Inktober 2015, 16, 17, and 18, you know, and I would do like an ink a day, and oftentimes I'd go pretty crazy on it. I think I even have on my art station my first Inktober that I had done. I have the whole thing in one image, which is fun to see. But then the thing is I got really into just drawing in ink after that, and so there, I think that was my Inktober 2015. Is that 2015 or 2014? Shit, that might be. Oh, that was 2014. Damn, did I do it that long? Crazy. And yeah, like I'd get pretty into the inks. I didn't skimp on them. So it got pretty time intensive. But then, yeah, I just got really into drawing in ink, and actually my sketchbook is pretty much all ink at this point. All my sketchbooks, and they have been for many, or at least multiple years now. So I don't really feel as drawn to do Inktober. And I don't really care about the drama. I thought the drama was blown out of proportion, and it was just kind of silly. Like, I don't really care about that side of things, even though I'm not a fan of what's his name, who started Inktober. But whatever, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, I mean, it's fun. I think I don't feel the pressure to like do Inktober every day. Plus, this year I actually have things I want to get done that have nothing to do with Inktober, and if inks happen to fall into part of the process, cool, but if not, then I'm like, I want to get these paintings done because they ain't gonna paint themselves, right? So gotta do it. But I do like seeing some of the other stuff that has kind of come out of Inktober. So even though I think all that drama around it was ridiculous, I'm kind of glad it happened, because we got some other really fun kind of little prompt lists and stuff from it, and things that maybe veered away from being just ink. which is cool. I like that. I dig that shit. Yeah, Don Lee. I appreciate that. I'm with you on that. And it's funny because, as I said before, I'm not trying to like trick people. I'm not trying to make them think it's traditional. It's more that I actually want to paint this traditionally, so I try and keep it as traditional as I can, right? But like if we look at on the work side, this stuff comes in handy, right? The one I did for the Dolby poster I did for Jungle Cruise. This one, right? So like that was a healthy mix of traditional and digital, but they wanted that Drew Struzan look, so I wanted it to look as traditional as I could get it. So it was a lot of mixed media. The color was digital, but there's a lot of traditional stuff layered in there. The drawing was all in pencil. There's a lot of mixed media in there. And then there's that one I did for the Suicide Squad fandom, the fandom poster for Suicide Squad. Which, I mean, it's mostly digital, but again, the drawing for that one was also all done in pencil. So that was fun, because normally when we're doing these posters, like, we have to work directly over photography most of the time, because we need the likeness to be like dead on, right? Because it goes through talent approval, so the actors have to approve their likeness, because I mean that's what their job is based on, right? Their work is based on their likeness. So most of the time we need that likeness to be just spot on. So we don't have the time to freehand that shit. But with the Suicide Squad poster, that one was exceptionally fun because we did not have photography to back up to support the angles that we wanted. So that one I actually got to freehand everything, and I was very, very happy that I did not get a single revision on likeness on that piece. Granted, half of them had helmets on, so that made it easy. Oh, was it? Oh, crazy. Yeah, that one I did was for last year's fandom. Yeah. There are actually two versions of that poster, that Suicide Squad poster. There's one where Idris Elba has his helmet on, and then one where he doesn't. And I think there were a couple other... Oh, and Ratcatcher. I think in the other one doesn't have her mask on or something. I know we did two versions that went out. For some reason, they only put one up on IMP, but I don't know. Whatever. Yeah. All right. All right. I think... I feel like it needs something, and I don't know what it is. And it's really bugging me. I might just be texture. I'll probably need to just kind of mess around with it at a certain point and just kind of see what I can figure out. Oh, that'd be too hot. Too hot. I'm just kind of feeling like it needs some kind of something. It needs some kind of something. I know it's super descriptive, but textures and things that I can kind of play with and I don't know what. And I may not figure it out tonight. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I don't mind that. It's like kind of an indication of a light source. Kind of okay with it. Kind of like that. We may, and I know I said I don't usually use blending modes, but I may do one, but I'm gonna keep it really subtle. And this is really just to adjust values. Not for like, really not for anything else. Just to kind of like, overlay can be a quick way to kind of push a little more depth into some of the values. But you got to be careful, like with her skin, I don't want that to go too crazy, so I may have to kind of darken some of that back down too. You know, like I don't want any of this stuff to go to white, and with a blending mode like overlay can quickly, you can get there pretty fast. But we don't want any pure white. Oh, okay. You got time. You got time. You didn't miss nothing. I don't think we did any illustrated posters for Fandom this year. That's too bad. Actually, I love doing illustrated posters for Warner Brothers. They're so cool about them, and they use them a lot. And what I love is they let us just kind of like do something and run with it. Like they don't sit there and nitpick the hell out of it, you know? They kind of just let us do our thing, which is super fun. But as I said, I don't think we did any illustrated posters for them this year. Well, for Fandom. don't think. I don't know. I lose track of these things. Like, we hit so many projects that sometimes it's just like, I don't know, maybe we did, maybe we didn't. I really like that watercolor texture, so I'm wondering if I want something down below. Oh, whoops, sorry. That's on the overlay. It's like, why is that darkening? That's weird. Now, this stuff obviously would be pretty tricky to like mimic in oils. You could do something kind of similar, sorta, maybe. But no, I like that other one. But it would be a little tricky to get the same kind of sort of watermarks, but not impossible. Not impossible. YouTube about movie posters and then new-ish movie poster after. People. Yeah. Yeah, they it has helped. I will say, it has helped having those people doing those posters. What's funny is that most of the time they can't really hire those people because the process and the timelines needed, just they can't hang with them. So a lot of times we will they'll ask us, hey, can you do something like this, and at this point, like, we don't really chase styles anymore. So at this point we'll be like, look, we can kind of get in the ballpark, but honestly, like, if you really like this look and that artist is currently living, you should just have them do it, because clearly that's what they do. But a lot of times, people can't do the turnaround that is needed. When you're given, let's say, a photo comp, and then you need to turn it into an illustration, and you have 3 days to do it. It can be overwhelming for a lot of people. And a lot of times you find out that the people need a week, and it's like, nope, sorry, either not in the budget or not in the timeline. All right. We'll see with this overlay. I don't want to go too crazy with it, but I don't mind maybe getting a little crazy, a little bit. We'll see. I don't know if. That's not really buying me anything. Darkening that stuff down a little bit gives me room to bring these some of the lights back and these feathers up front. Create a little bit of separation in there, which is a good thing. Even though overlay will kind of fuck with the color a little bit, because it'll start trying to just push that contrast, and it'll bring out some saturation and things sometimes. But right now I don't mind. Like, nothing I can't mess with. In the oil painting. All right. Okay, I'm liking where this is going. I like 24 by 36, a movie about movie posters. It's interesting because usually movie posters are 27 by 40. Yeah, they're usually 27 by 40. Maybe they used to be 24 by 36. I'm not sure. All right, my friends. I gotta call it. I gotta start thinking about bed and waking up in the morning for work. Let's see. Is there anyone on we might want to raid? Wow, I've got like 2 people on right now. Well, Summer is rocking some watercolor flowers. And Nagasaki is doing, I have no idea what. She is painting on her arm right now. You can raid Summer. She does all kinds of stuff. Slow Burn Studio, if you don't know her. She does everything from like fashion illustration to like textile design to illustration, like kind of whatever her heart desires. She's good people. So we're gonna raid Slow Burn Studio. I will be back on Tuesday night, 7 p.m. I think we may start on that other one, which is the Undine, right? That's what this illustration is. It's an Undine illustration, a water spirit, but then with a very Bouguereau inspired slant to it. So I think I may get into that one on Tuesday. And see where that takes us. So everyone say hi to Slow Burn Studio. Show her some love. She's awesome. She's a good person. And I will see y'all Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific time. If you're not already on the Discord, join the Discord, and you can get announcements for when I go live. All right, my friends, thanks for hanging out. Love you guys. Take care. Hope y'all sleep well. I hope I sleep well. Peace, peace, peace.